All right, guys, mistakes were made. The big question tonight is, why are good cars not selling on Bring a Trailer and the other auction sites? Here's a little hint. It's not because of the market. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. All right, welcome to a live episode of Bid Nerds. My name is JP. We are coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with not only my partner, Michael Deeb in San Francisco over there. Actually, I pointed the wrong way, but we are in Romi's studio, and look who's here. Romi joined us tonight. Welcome, Romi. What's up, buddy?
Oh, well, thank you very much, JP. It's good to be here. It's good to be in my studio, and it's good to be on Bid Nerds.
That's right. Let's get after it tonight, man. We made some predictions on the last episode. Things were getting a little crazy. We covered some cars.
Yes.
And look, the results are, the big question tonight is, why aren't things selling? The market is good. There are a lot of cars that are selling. We're still seeing decent results, especially if you factor in inflation and those types of things. Stuff's moving. But the cars that aren't moving, there's a big reason why the cars that aren't moving. And we're going to discuss that. But before we do, want to shout out to our good friends at Godden Classic, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas, as well as Our Smiths up in Idaho. We're going to come and visit Anthony here in end of the month, the 25th?
Yeah.
Tell us about that, dude. What's going on?
Again, this is all paraphrasing. Anthony Vieira, I think, is like the president of the PCA up there in Boise. They're having like their annual big tech talk with an open garage thing. And they're, everybody who's an expert in a particular field is going to, wax poetically. The PCA of Idaho is flying in the Bid Nerds to give a segment of the talk about selling your car online in an online auction. So JP and I will be there live without a net at the event, I believe, on Saturday the 25th or 26th, whichever day Saturday falls in around that date range. That's the day of the event. We're looking forward to seeing Anthony. You said Kelly was going to be out of town. We're going to see Randy Bloom. I don't know, man. Anybody, if you're in the area, we'd love to meet you. So we hope everybody turns out for this event. It's going to sound like, by all accounts, it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, my partner has been there to Boise before, but I have not. This will be a whole cultural thing for me to go visit Idaho and the potato people, so it'll be great.
Romi, we're going to get you up there. Anthony's going, hey, is Romi coming? What's going on? What the hell?
In Boise?
Yeah. Boise, Idaho.
Why not?
He's like, okay, sure, why not? We can get some potatoes.
Can I drive up there?
You know what? Actually,
if we
Romi,
do a Porsche drive, I'll do it.
You and I are going to be in L.A. that week. I'm flying out of NAM. Going to NAM. No, it's the North. It's the music thing. So I'm going to be.
You weren't there, man. You don't know.
It's what is it? Stolen Valor.
Totally.
You and I are going to deliver a couple of your cars over to Matt Farah's place,
yes.
right? You're going to store a few cars there. What's the decision there? What's going on your Instagram? Lots of stuff going on the Instagram channel.
Yeah, lots of stuff on the gram. Lots of things being posted. Yeah, Matt was kind enough to let me give me a couple spaces in his. He's got 3 storage facilities in the LA area. Wow. You guys know that? It's amazing.
No, there's 3.
And that's Matt Farah's place. And I got a tandem spot, so we'll do the roof and the green car. We'll put them up there, and and we're going to do a lot more content in LA just because of that. But let's wait until the fires die down.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody, all our friends there are safe. Boy, what a tragedy.
Yeah. Do we know if Whitaker's doing okay later in the day?
I've seen him posting. He's not in that area. No, most of our guys are in the middle of LA or East LA.
It just looked like he was concerned that it was, closer than I think anybody would like. And our thoughts are with everybody in there. Apparently, by all accounts, it's the worst fire disaster they've had in LA, which is saying something because they've had so many bad ones. But this one is just ripping through luxury neighborhoods, and people are being displaced. They were asking people to drive out of the area, and then the fire department was stopping people on the road and telling them to abandon their cars. I mean, it's awful. So tuck in, take care, and we're thinking about you.
All right, let's move on, guys. Let's get to the predictions. Tonight's big topic is mistakes were made, and I think all of the examples of cars that we analyze, this is, I know I'm kind of maybe I'm giving away spoilers already here, but all of the cars that we talked about, I think, suffered, and it's probably not because of the market. Maybe my guest host and partner will disagree with my point of view there. Let's get to the first car. What was the first car we made a prediction on the list?
Looking forward to that already, JP. Romi, tell me when you look at these photos as we review this backdated 1992 Porsche 964 Carrera 2 that has been treated to a very Singer-esque, Singer derivative resto modification, replete with manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, and a built 3.6 punched up to 3.8 liter. But Romi, as I look at these photos, not the beach photos, but the boulevard photos, I initially thought that this car was for sale by your buddies at RMC Miami, but they are not the seller of this car. This car is in Miami, Florida, but it's not from RMC. Anyway, super cool car. The details scream Singer. That lower front end, the oversized Fuchs, and then when you get to the interior, the woven treatment to the leather and the door cards and the dash, the wooden steering wheel, even the way they present the gear shift lever out of the floor, JP. So many of these things to me are very Singer derivative. So JP, as we looked at the photos and we looked at where it was at and we consider the platform that it's on, and that is that it's on P-Car Market, we wondered how this car would fare in the secondary market. Again, when you talk about taking a 964 Carrera manual, anything, coupe, convertible, Targa, you're already starting with an expensive donor car. And then to do this kind of treatment, bodywork, paint, suspension, interior, and motor, you're talking about a massive investment. So here this car shows up. We know it's not $1 million Singer because it's not a Singer, but it's probably the next best thing because it's something that is, quote unquote, slightly more affordable. And we wondered aloud, JP, if this car would be looking for around $250,000. I think you and I agreed that the watermark in the secondary market for a car like this had to be $250,000. But considering the platform that it's on, JP, my bid was $185,000. And you actually liked my bid and took the over right above me, parking your bid at $186,964. So, Romi, look, you've bought a few modified cars in your day. You know what 964s go for. You know what quality work goes for. You know what a 3.6 964 block built to 3.8 specs goes for. What do you think this car would have hammered for? And then the second part of the question is, what do you think it winds up in the deal tank for on P-Car Market as an asking price? Give us your numbers.
Yeah, it's an interesting car because, I mean, 964s are perfect. So why would you mess with it? Is the first thing. You know what I mean? It's just, they look amazing. So when you backdate them, it's very odd. But I like what they did. I like the interior. I like the spec that they did. The seats, not so much. But these kind of cars, when it's a convertible, so it hurts it a little bit. And it's naturally aspirated, so it's non-turbo, and it's super modified, so then your market becomes a little smaller. I would say, I think you guys are right around the mark. I would say like 200K.
200K is your bid?
At best.
And what do you think he asks for it in the secondary market, like as it winds up in the deal tank? Because none of us, unless you think it would sell for 200, none of us thought that the car would sell. So what do you think it winds up for as an asking price?
The second question, I'm going to go actually below you and say like 170.
Wait.
Oh, well, no, but if it hit 200, then it would sell. So what do you think he would ask for it if he didn't get all the money?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood the question.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'm totally paying attention, I swear.
That's okay.
I would say probably the over, 220.
220? Okay, not bad. So that's a decent range, and you're kind of right there. So again, me and JP, I'm at 185. JP's at 186, 964. Our car hammered on 4 bids at $163,250 where it failed to sell. They got another bid from the same high bidder. He went up to $175,000. So that winds up being the 5th bid, JP, and that is the current final offer. And JP, we should start awarding ourselves Yahtzees on the deal tank bid because you and I agreed that this car was going to be at $250. It is for sale on offer in the deal tank, aka the chum bucket, for exactly $250,000. So Romi, you're in the range. JP, we were both kind of right on the money. This car failed at 20 grand below us. They got another bid 10 grand below us, but he's looking for $250,000. Now, JP, you and I discussed that's not out of the realm of possibility to ask for this. We don't see a lot of backdate convertibles. There were never long hood convertibles. So this is an odd car, but it's a popular color. It's a great platform for what to build on. It looks by all accounts to be a very decent and fair bid. I think the asking price is fair. The question I guess I would throw to you is this, John. Do you think he has any chance of selling it through P Car Market, or do we think we see this car for sale some other place, 8 weeks from now?
Yeah, I don't think that P Car Market necessarily burned this car, but I don't think it's going to sell in the deal tank. The deal tank is just so embarrassing for P Car Market. I don't know why they keep. I mean, I know that some cars do wind up selling there, but when you go and look at the deal tank, it just stacks up more and more and more.
What is the deal tank?
So, Romi, the deal tank, and I think that's why you were misunderstanding the question. Okay.
Yeah.
On P Car Market, when a car fails to sell, unlike on Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids or almost any of the other auction sites, if the car doesn't reach reserve, it doesn't sell. It goes away.
Right.
On P Car Market, they have basically a classifieds ads. So when a car fails to meet reserve on the auction, it then winds up going into what they call the deal tank, which is basically a classifieds. It says, here's the price.
Interesting.
And so the ad stays up and people can still come back and buy the car later. They sell a lot of cars that way.
I bet they do.
I ish on P Car Market a lot, but it is one of the reasons why they sell so many cars, because they like to go and pressure everyone who bid. Everyone who bids on a car on P Car Market is a lead to P Car Market. Right? If you bid on one of these cars, if it's anywhere, if you're in the top 5 or 10 bidders, someone's calling you from P Car Market and going to give you an opportunity to buy the car, right? And it works.
I see.
From Oyster Bay, and I mean deep
Shocking.
Oyster Bay.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Oyster Bay. How you doing, huh?
Long Island's finest, Oyster Bay.
Long Island's finest, Oyster Bay. There's a giant Porsche dealership there.
So yeah, I think mistakes were made in the regard that the seller, this car is pretty awesome. It's definitely polarizing. People either love it or hate it. Deeb and I were both talking about how we both of us got tons.
JP, can I ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Hold on, let me finish the point. We both got tons and tons and tons of feedback, or not even feedback, but just people sending us the listing before we even talked about. What were you going to ask, Deeb?
I was going to ask, and then maybe this is a silly question, but what if they did all this work? Because this is really good work on that car, but they kept it a 964 and didn't backdate it. Do you think it'd be worth more money?
No.
No.
That's it.
No?
It's an interesting question. Okay, so hold on, Deeb, I'll give you a shot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it was just
we'll do two answers. Yeah.
Yeah, if it were a regular 964 with the big engine and all the suspension bits, okay, yeah, it would probably bring $150,000 ish. Maybe if they made it a wide body, right? But for the question I was going to have for you, Romi, and Deeb, we'll get back to you because I know you have an answer to that question too. But the question before that was, you are just coming into this, Romi, seeing this for the first time. If I had told you that this is a Singer, if I said, hey, look, Singer made a convertible, my guess is that most people would have just said, oh, wow, the Singer finally made a convertible. It looks weird, and they'd criticize it for whatever reason they might criticize it. But I think most people, this car is so well done that it really does look like a Singer. Something, it doesn't quite pass it's like robots, right? The uncanny valley. When you see a robot, like a person, an animation on TV, and it's not quite right, your brain knows that, okay, that's an animation, right? You look at this, I think there's an uncanny valley when you look at this car that's like, oh, that's a Singer. Well, wait a minute, maybe not. Something's not
I would
quite
have been
right.
like, wow, that was weird for a Singer.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry, Deeb, what were you going to bring up?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. One, I agree with you that if it was a 964 built to be a wide body with a suspension and motor, it would be about $150,000 car if it was tits. Your uncanny valley thing, JP, I can actually answer this for you. This car was built with Porsche turbo flares, and the reality is Singer forms their own front and rear quarter panels, so they're bespoke and they just look slightly different. So if you've seen enough Singers and then you see this, you're like, it's like looking at AI on the internet. You're like, wait, that's not a real person. That's animated. That's like the whole thing. But what I was going to say, and you kind of touched on it, JP, about their leads. it's interesting. This car only got 4 different bidders. They don't even have that many people to call back, which is kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
Like, who are they going to negotiate with? They literally have to go to their
Looks good with
own
the top
client
down.
list and try and sell this car. And then Romi, just to further what JP was explaining about the deal tank is when you contract your car with P-Car Market, what they want you to do is give them the car for the duration of the auction, which is 1 week, but they also want exclusive rights to sell your car at your asking price in the deal tank for 21 more deals, for 21 more days, so 3 more weeks. So some people will give them the car and not sign on to put their car in the deal tank, which I think is good. I think you don't burn the car by putting it in the deal tank. But this car is in the deal tank with the owner, and P-Car Market is hoping to solicit more offers or have more time to call people to try and sell the car, because obviously it's a $250,000 conversation. That's a big payday for P-Car Market when they sell mostly beer, you know, like man cave chairs and signs for your garage more than anything else.
I was going to say 914s.
This is a lot of martini neon signs for the garage and P-Car Market dollars.
I must have had like 20 people send me the roof sign.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
You should buy this, Romi. I'm like, why?
Yeah, but it's. I think
studio.
But I think it's
right.
It's really interesting that that they want to contract you for 4 weeks. They want your car for 4 weeks to try and sell it.
It's very New York.
Which is interesting.
It's
very New York. Very
Long Island. Yeah.
We're
in
very
control,
free inventory.
and if you fail, we'll succeed.
I think the thing, if you're building this car, I think the thing really would have been done is to convert it to a Targa. Then it would have brought the money, right? Because convertibles are just convertibles bring half the money of the coupe versions or the Targa versions. It's just the reality of things.
The beauty piece of this car is a 3.8.
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
This car's got to just go like stink.
Yeah, it's got to go great.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. What do you think of the big mistake here? I think was putting on a P-Car Market. Number one, number two, the assets are terrible. I mean, they're just not good. They're barely adequate. When you're selling something that you want $250,000 for, you got to sell me the romance. This car looks a lot like a Singer, and you want that kind of Singer respect. Well, the assets that go with your sale, with your listing need to be commensurate with what you think you're going to get for the car. This car just isn't represented as a $250,000 backdated.
I'm sorry to interrupt, JP. It kind of reminds me of when people redo their houses. And then they put it on the market for this inflated price because they think they're going to get it. And it's like, dude, just because you redid it doesn't mean it's to people's taste. And also, like, it's not going to, no, people are realistic. They're like, I'm going to spend the money I'm going to spend.
Yep, absolutely. All right, what do you guys think of the results of this pink convertible 964 Singer wannabe 911? Should the seller have taken that $160,000? What would you do if you were the seller in this situation? You already had the failure to sell on P-Car Market. Now what? Give this guy some advice. The nerd herd always knows. And let's move on. Were mistakes made on this next listing? What do we got next? Michael Deeb.
Well, JP, I'm just noticing something that I didn't notice before. So anyways, we are going to circle back to our first eBay listing coverage of a 1994 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 Cabriolet. Ooh, this is a manual transmission car, black with tan interior, listed out of, I got to read it. I got to find it. It's from Bethel, Connecticut.
It looks like,
and the car is, the car is particularly low miles with just 42,400. About the only thing you can knock on this car are the standard 16-inch wheels. This car obviously would look 100 times better if it had the 17-inch cups. But cool car. We've never covered an eBay listing. We teased and jest about how poorly this car was presented with cell phone photos parked on the grass out in the woods behind the guy's house.
He's got a mobile credit card.
There's a teeny bit of rust at the base of one side of the windshield, but otherwise a good car with fair miles and in an attractive colorway. So JP, we wondered aloud how this car would fare if it would close or sell at Hammer on eBay. John, the car was at $52,600 when we covered it. I thought the car had a chance to sell at $55,500. You said you didn't think it would get another bid. So your bid was where it was at 52,600. So JP, here's where it gets very interesting. Romi, do you care to give us a bid?
Yeah, I agree with JP's bid. Yeah, it's like
okay, cool. All right,
you guys like 53,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So our car got one more bid. JP, it bid to 52,700. And I watched it right when it closed. I turned it on and I looked at it. It said ended. So it ended and didn't say sold. So I wrote in our sheet 52,700 FTS for bids. As I opened up that link to do the show tonight, it says that the car sold for that dollar amount. So we were joking about mistakes made, but apparently this car transacted. So sold at 52,700. You missed a Yahtzee by $100 and one bid. But you're right on the money. It did not go very much farther. However, it seems the seller was pretty either realistic about how he presented the car or the fact that he just wanted to offload it. And he threw it on eBay and got rid of it for $100. I mean, it's almost surprising to me that it didn't do a little bit better. But, man, there you go. Sold. Gone. What do you think?
I personally spend way too much time cruising the internet and all the different places looking at cars for sale, particularly old Porsches. And, like old 964s, this is what everybody wants, right? I know this one's a convertible. Yeah, we go over that. But I never, ever look at eBay. Like, I just never do it. It's not on my list. Like,
really?
And looking at this result, at this listing, I'm going, God dang, maybe I should have. Yeah. That is a freaking steal. Because, it's low miles, and it's a 94. It's not like an earlier one, and it's a C2, not a C4. Vast majority of the C4s, of the convertibles are C4s. All the C4s were manuals. So a lot of times what happens when you see a convertible C2, that was the second highest spec back then, right? And so people, convertibles were way more than the coupes. And so if you wanted the automatic, if you wanted the Tiptronic, which is what everybody wanted in 1991 or 1993, they ordered or they bought their 964 C2 convertible with a Tiptronic. So to find a manual is very difficult. That's why most people wind up, if they want the manuals, they wind up having to settle for a C4. So the mistakes here were that, one, the guy put it on eBay, and two, again, the assets just decent, hiring a photographer for not much money to go out and shoot this car. If they had put this car on BAT, what do you think it would have brought, Deeb?
Oh, 60, 65.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they left at least $10,000 on the table.
964 cabs have been probably the biggest climber of the year. Yeah. This is a low mileage manual 2-wheel drive cab. I'm parroting what you just said, JP, but at minimum, with terrible assets, he would have got $64,000 for it. Yeah. JP, let me put you on the spot, if I may, but you had about 140,000 mile C4 Cabriolet. May I ask you to share, if you're comfortable, what you sold your car for?
Yeah. I mean, like $1,000 less. I mean, we're talking.
I was going to say, didn't you sell your car for $50,000? You could have a brand new version of your car and dump the 4-wheel drive. And the only give and take would be the tan interior. But my God, what a car for the money. So
what it really was? It was the mobile credit card. That's what sold it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's probably it.
You need that in every picture. Yeah.
You remember?
It wasn't a gas station credit card anymore. It's so East Coast. No idea. Seriously. I suppose it wasn't a Sunoco card.
My buddy had one of those, and we would go skiing every weekend, and he would put all the snacks and strawberries, Shasta, and all the everything was on Dad's mobile credit card.
Oh my God!
What are you gonna do? Get a gas station sandwich?
I mean, that's how we lived off of. Like, what can we eat today? It's whatever you can buy in the gas station bar. Jolt Cola, and here we go.
I'm such a bad co-host. You guys talk about credit cards and then go skiing every weekend, and I thought it was a euphemism.
Nice.
Deep from San Francisco. That's where he grew up. Yes. We got it. All right. What do you guys think of the results of that eBay listing? Would you sell a car on eBay? Would you buy a car on eBay? Have you ever bought a car on eBay? And now that you see this result, are you thinking of doing it? Woo, I am.
I did it once. CL63.
On a Shasta. Okay, there it is. Wick's Garage. Dwayne Wick. Shout out to Dwayne Wick, who's hanging out with us in the Nerd. All right, let's move on. Let's get to the next listing. We had one more that we talked about on the last episode, and then we can get to new predictions. I want to get to new predictions. What's the last car?
All right, Romy. I basically hung myself trying to present this 2021 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon with a 392. That is one of those Hemi V8 engines under the hood. The car is modified with some wheels and tires, some suspension. They've got this trick with the rear, the rear convertible top, and the doors are issued in favor of these like slap nets together and all this stuff. And I kind of banged on about like this guy would have got more money if he had sort of returned it to more of a stock look. And JP sort of countered that argument with the idea that their market is so saturated with Wranglers, not to mention Unlimited and Rubicons, that the idea that this guy has some tasteful modifications, and the fact, not opinion, that everybody who owns a Jeep modifies it or customizes it in some way, that this guy has gone to great lengths to separate himself in the secondary market, and that should help him sell the car. So, Romy, I will ask you when we're done, which one of the two of us winds up being correct? Because my argument was this guy would have done better if he put it back to stock, to the point where I was like, JP, you just should have put the doors back on because nobody could drive it home. And he started laughing, going, my poor partner who's from the city doesn't know that you can put the doors on in 2 seconds, that not having the doors doesn't create any friction on the road to the sale. So with all of that in mind, super nice. JP, Romy, again, this one has the V8, which is quite a bit rare, and fair mileage. Our car is on Bring a Trailer. It's showing 21,000 miles, and it's over there in Annapolis, Maryland. So, Romy, according to our friends at Classic.com, the average price of one of these with the V8 in the secondary market is $65,300. I took the under because I thought the car was too modified, and it's kind of a weird time of the year to be driving around in a car with no doors. So I said $53,500.
Okay.
JP took the over, but he took an over just over me so he could have all the ground above him. So his bid was $55,500. Classic says the average is $65,000. Romy, what's your bid on this car on Bring a Trailer?
Romy, before I let you jump in here, Romy, the big thing that Deeb hasn't mentioned here that has to be considered when looking at a 2021 Jeep Wrangler is the fact that this is the 392. This is the Hellcat engine. This is the one that was made that, but you didn't like, it's like, that is the
Hemi V8,
Jeeps,
I said it.
And the fact that this is not just a regular Wrangler.
It's a Hellcat engine?
It's basically a Hellcat engine, yeah.
How much horsepower does it have?
400. It's not the Hellcat. It's just a Hemi.
It's just a Hemi.
Not the
okay.
Oh, okay.
It's a derivative of the same damn engine. I mean, they're all the same freaking thing. Just one has more.
It's the cop car motor, the 400 horsepower one.
Exactly. It's the cop car motor.
I mean, considering that most Wranglers have like 40 horsepower, or at least it feels like it. This is a big difference. This car will drive more like a G-Wagon as far as power.
Well,
than
it's
it will.
crazy.
I mean, it's not a G-Wagon. It's a like. The word is like. Sorry to try to help you out. Before you make a bid, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of,
I know what you're doing. I see it. You're see-through. I see it. But I really appreciate it, JP.
Sure.
What a guy.
Look at that G-Wagon.
Look at that G-Wagon. It's sick.
The doors fell off. You got to put the doors on it. If they took the doors off a G-Wagon.
The doors fell off.
Pour it on.
You can't drive it around without doors.
I did that to my Defender, and I took the doors off, and I put those stupid little doors on it. I'll never do it again. Just no doors or doors. The little doors are dumb. They're dumb. They're wasted time. Don't waste your money. So anyway, I agree with JP. I think that it's going to go over because of the modifications.
Give us a number.
Of the engine. I'm going to go way over and be stupid and say 57.
57, very good, and you would have won. So here's where it gets interesting.
Really?
Our car hammered for $59,501, where it failed to sell on 26 bids. So I ask the two of you, and I know I'm going to get shit on, and it's only okay. But at $59,000, and it failed to sell, and the average selling price is $65,000. Do you think, Romy, if this guy had put it back to stock, he would have got the money he was looking for, which I assume was closer to 65 or over?
That's not even a question. That's not even. That's
They're
patently
bickering.
absurd.
They're bickering.
There is no returning your Jeep back to stock is the dumbest words ever. And there's dumb words uttered on this show. I mean, take it from the guy who's been on every one of them. There is no dumber statement than you should return your Jeep back to stock before you sell it. Then
hold on.
He should have done.
You have to remember, JP. Let me take you back to 2021 when I asked you if a Volkswagen thing was 4-wheel drive. I've said some pretty dumb shit on the show.
That is more. Wow. No, I'll give him that. Not everybody knows much about a Volkswagen thing. I mean, it looks like a 4-wheel drive, right? But it's not. These, oh my God.
VW van with its head cut off.
Yeah, no one. Look, Deeb, I mean, I don't know. Name
I'm just
a convertible.
teasing.
The easiest convertible to put a top up, I don't know. What's the easiest? Maybe a Miata or something like that.
Yeah,
taking the doors on and off in one of these is as easy as putting a top on and off.
It's harder on a Defender.
Defenders aren't built that way, but Jeeps are. G-Wagons aren't.
The beauty of a Defender is you could just use a screwdriver to get it off, though.
Yeah, and then good luck getting it back on.
It'll
never line back up.
It'll never line back up.
Not actually. It'll cross through. No, these are definitely built for this type of thing, and if I were the seller of this car, I wouldn't have let it go for that either. I actually do think, oddly enough, you'd probably do better on the forums or just putting this on the open market. I think that BAT, we just don't see Jeeps do well on BAT. We have seen the early ones.
Where do they do well?
To sell something like this, I think you either go on a forum, like a Jeep forum, on Marketplace. I really think that's where you sell this thing. And I know Marketplace, there's
Facebook Marketplace?
Facebook Marketplace for something like this. Wow. Yeah, because the open Facebook Marketplace is just a shit show, right? You put it up there and you're going to get a million people. Oh, is it still available? And then they'll never get back to you. But the thing that you can do on Facebook Marketplace is go on to groups. And there are gajillion Jeep groups, and if you put this for sale in a Jeep group,
that's what the guy told me with my Unimog. He was like, go on Facebook and pick one of the groups, and you'll sell it immediately. And I was like, I don't have Facebook. And he was so nice. He goes, I'll put it on.
What about MySpace?
Oh, yeah, MySpace.
I forgot the question I was going to ask JP. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an odd thing, but yeah.
The question is, what
about cars and bids?
What's that? Cars and bids? No, I don't think anyone really brings the weird thing about off-road vehicles. Like we've seen cool Cayennes and Defenders and stuff like that. Yeah. Those seem to do pretty well on cars and bids. So I see why you bring that up, Deeb. But if you come here to Vegas, right? We've got SEMA every year. Until just a few years ago, the thing about the Jeep Wrangler, particularly the Unlimited, is that they owned this market for over a decade. No other manufacturer was making a boxy utilitarian open top off-road vehicle. And when you came to SEMA in Vegas, there was 5 big pavilions, and one of them was entirely devoted to this one stinking car, one model of car. So a fifth of SEMA was devoted to off-road vehicles, and none of the other manufacturers were like, gee, I wonder why they're selling so many Wranglers. And it wasn't until 2021 or 22 that Ford finally came out with their stupid Bronco, and now they're, kind of the top dog but it's a good, the bottom line is people are into off-road vehicles, and off-roaders aren't into the car auctions. They're not. It's a different type of car enthusiast that doesn't cross over. You just like if you take your Cayenne out on the trails, and you'll be 2 or 3 guys in their Cayennes, and then you'll see a trail of 50 frickin' Wranglers, and they'll all be like,
what are you doing here?
What's a Porsche thing doing out here? It's just it's a trope at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. Who flew
besides,
you in?
The whole car industry, all the executives are like Office Space.
Yeah, it's true.
They're not changing anything.
It's true. It's glacial to get them to do anything.
Yeah, they're like, we know what we're doing.
Yeah. All right, guys, what do you think of that Wrangler? Let's go to commercial. We've got predictions, and we've got some really cool listings. We've got listings from some of our friends, but I'm going to say it right now. Mistakes were made on these too. We're going to talk about those. We'll be right back. Stick around. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. It's time to make some predictions. Let's get after it. Will mistakes be made on the listings that we're going to talk about tonight? Let's make some predictions. What's going on, and what is the first car on the list? Michael Deeb.
All right, JP, I am going to introduce, but quickly hand over to you because I think it belongs to your friend, this 1987 Volkswagen Golf GTI.
No. Wait, what are you doing? What the hell?
I thought I was doing the Halo car.
We are off Halo car.
Failure to launch. All right. It'll be my pleasure to introduce this 1994 Porsche 968 Coupe with a 6-speed manual running no reserve on Bring a Trailer, and by the seller Curious Office, who I think is okay to disclose is our very good friend Kelly. Kelly is up there in Idaho, maintains, as I would say, a modest collection of incredibly cool Porsches. He is a total enthusiast. And Kelly is one of those guys that keeps his cars impeccable. He's got lifts in the garage, and it looks like he spends more time cleaning them than he does driving him, which always drives me nuts. That was exactly how my dad did. He would drive a car for an hour, and then he would clean it for an hour and a half. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? So I think Kelly and my dad might be related. So JP, the big news here with Kelly's 94 968 Coupe is simply this. It's the way the car was equipped when new from Porsche. I don't know how many 968s they made, but apparently for the North American market in 1994, only 99 of these cars came from the factory with the MO30 sports suspension package, which is more than just springs and shocks. I think it has to do with geometry. It's the diameter of the bars. It's a better brake caliper, and a few other things. It's got limited slip. It'll be packaged with limited slip differential. So it's a very important package. Now, 968s, JP, are already really good handling cars, but when you give it Porsche's treatment to the suspension and the limited slip, and of course, this is a manual transmission car, a 6-speed manual, which are rare in their own right, because as you were talking about that last car that we covered on the last show, during this era, a lot of Americans were ordering their cars with Tiptronic, and a very fair amount. I would say, JP, correct me if you have a different answer, but I would say like half of these cars are automatic. So finding a nice non-beat up, sort of modified manual car is a treat. But getting one that has the MO30 sports suspension and the limited slip differential and owned by somebody who's as fastidious as our friend Kelly, you've got a really special car in the secondary market. So Kelly took these pictures. He's selling the car himself on Bring a Trailer. At least I think he took the pictures. The car is running no reserve. There's a few other modifications. There's a document and photo, I want to say from the top of my head, 166, and it's a list of all the mods that were done to the car before Kelly bought the car. I think Kelly bought it in 2021, and this document was prepared in 2019, and on it, it lists, let me click ahead here. It lists things like, I lost it already. Jesus Christ. Well, anyway, they did some other stuff to suspension. There's some pieces that were purchased by FabSpeed, some things to do with the geometry. A lot of service was done, new radiators and all these things. New. Suspension bushings were replaced. But control arms and all this stuff. It's really cool stuff. Steering rack was rebuilt, the control arms, all this stuff. So a lot of things were done to the car, and not a lot of wear and tear has been put on the car since all that work was done. In fact, I would say, if anything, Kelly's probably made the car better. So now the car comes to market with 76,000 miles. It's rarely equipped with some really cool pieces, and I'd just say it's ready to go. The amazing thing here is how rare the MO30 sports suspension is, and the fact that it's coupled with a manual car. The other thing is, and Kelly was saying this, Kelly's done, I will commend him on this. He's done an outstanding job of engaging in everybody who's commented on the listing while it's been live. He answers every question faithfully and completely. People have asked for, can you show me how the headlights work? And can you tell me how a 6'5" driver fits? Kelly called his brother and had him go sit in the car and took a photo of his brother's headroom in the car so that a tall guy who's interested in being in the car can see what it looks like. So Kelly's gone above and beyond more than anybody should.
Right.
But it looks like an outstanding car. And so anyways, and then Kelly has had to defend the fact that he painted the wheels red. He goes, somebody said, why did you do that? He goes, because it looks cool. I'm like, good on you. So there you go, JP. Really rare car. It's amazing that you don't see them on the road very often, which Kelly cited in his commentary, and that they don't bring outstanding money. These cars are, CSs are still way under $100,000 for a nice one, and this isn't even a CS. So it's just interesting to see that this really nice, really great driving car is probably not even going to bring a ton of money. So JP, 968's better than me. I think the only time I ever drove one was like on a test drive because I really wanted to buy one. But like, on a test drive, you don't go really drive it. So I've never really driven one of these. I know you have. What are the differences between, say, this and a 944 turbo? And then, tell us your impressions of the listing, because I know you have some critique.
Well, I'm going to start with talking about the red wheels. People are asking him why he did it, because it looks cool. Yeah, but, the CSs actually come from the factory with the Cup 2s with the red wheels. I mean, you could put the decal down the side of this thing and it would look like a Club Sport. So I think that's kind of a thing that people do with red 968s like this. I don't know if I would. I think a little red goes a long way, and I typically don't like red wheels, but I think it looks great on this car. The underside of this car is like immaculate with all that suspension bits that Kelly put on it. I do believe this car was dry iced, so it's and the dry ice thing I think is great. I think as long as it's disclosed that it was dry iced, it's okay. I think that a lot of times people are going out there and they're dry icing it and they're not saying that they did it. And so like, I think there's the idea that, the car's so clean underneath, it must have always been like that. No, I mean, they look great when they dry ice, but I think sometimes people are hiding maybe that there was some bad oil leaks for a long time. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's going on here, because again, Kelly was very forthright on here's what's going on with this particular car.
Kelly's awesome.
I think you got to kind of look even more closely when you see that the underside of a car has been dry iced. That said, look, mistakes were made here, Kelly. I know you're watching, and I reached out to you. Why didn't you call me to shoot this car? This car is not, these assets are not good enough for this car. I think the car is going to do well.
Yeah, the pictures are terrible.
But bro, come on. Your front wheels turn to the left on your profile shot? Stop it. What are you doing? You're the most aesthetically perfect guy I know. You own design companies. You are like the god when it comes to this. These pictures are awful. Come on, I would have. I am disappointed, my friend. But I do think this car is going to do well. It is a spectacular car. I have personally seen this car in the flesh. I know Romi has too.
Yes.
What do you think of this car, Romi?
I love it. I think it's great. I've slowly, as I've gotten older, fallen in love with these cars. I love the quirkiness of them, how they're the 50-50 weight balance, the distribution, and what Kelly's done with the car with the suspension is amazing. Like that's the kind of work that you can't appreciate until you drive it. That car is going to handle way better than it did from the factory, and it's going to drive like it's brand new. I've done it to a couple of my cars, and it's metamorphosized the car. So whoever buys this car is going to be lucky because it's going to handle really well. And it's a beautiful car. I think it's great, and I think what Kelly did to it is good. I love the red wheels, and I love the quirky interior. But you're right, the pictures are they're pretty bad.
They kind of suck.
They kind of suck. Yeah, I mean, they're really bad.
Deeb, you had asked some questions about the differences between like the 944s and the turbo. Obviously, a 944 turbo is a turbo, and these are naturally aspirated. The big thing about the 968s is that this was the biggest inline 4-cylinder Porsche ever made, and I think anyone made at this point. It's a 3-liter inline 4, and it is a twin cam, which is like the S2 version of the
Yep.
944, but but that was a 2.7 or 2.9 depending on the year. And then the other big thing is that, like you had mentioned, these were available with the Tiptronic. And you mentioned, Deeb, that this one has a 6-speed, and that is that much more rare because the earlier manual ones came with 5 speeds. They didn't have a 6-speed until 94.
I thought
so,
all 968s were 6-speed, so only the 94 was. I knew 94 was a special year, but I didn't realize
94 and 95, because they made them to 95. Gotcha. So that's it's a good distinction, right? So this is basically the same transmission that's out of like a 993 or a 96, a 993 with
a 993, right?
Yeah,
exactly right.
G50 993.
Yep.
So just a magnificent car, and I
Oof.
All right, what do we think the nicest 968 non-club sport is going to bring? What's it going to bring?
All right, so Kelly Smith says, I'm dying over here, JP. You ain't wrong, brother. Oh, Kelly, thank God you have a good sense of humor, because I was going to say, the views expressed on Bid Nerds do not reflect that of the other host.
So Kevin Bowden's like, Kelly, you got to pull the listing. What are you doing?
Yeah. Kelly, if you're not paying attention, pull up your listing. We're going to discuss Bid Nerds Mojo, because since we have gone live, this car has gone from $20,000 to $25,000 on 16 bids, and the car closes tomorrow. That's the good news. The bad news is, according to our friends at classic.com, a 1994 Porsche 968 on average is just a $31,500 car. And again, when I look at this, I'm thinking more in terms of club sport than a standard 968. And that's an unfair thing to do. And if this were a 75,000 mile club sport, this would be practically an $80,000 car. But it's not. Even though they have essentially the same engine, the Club Sport is like 200 pounds lighter and has a few other special things with regards to the handling. This car might actually handle better because of all the tuning and modifications that went into it without sacrificing ride quality. A lot of guys asked Kelly if they should change to coilovers, and Kelly said absolutely not. The way that the car comes on adjustable Coney dampers is absolutely the right way for the street, and all the other modifications we do helps it in the turn, so you get to enjoy a comfortable ride to your favorite twisty mountain, and this car will still be faster than anything else with more horsepower up the hill. So with all of that in mind, I question why we're even covering this car, because JP, I should buy this damn car. This would be a great car for me.
I was thinking the same thing. I want to buy this car.
I gotta sell my 6-figure Carrera, and I'm a baller on a budget this year. 2025 is a sacrifice year for me. I may bid on this car tomorrow.
Look at how cool that interior is. Look at that.
Yeah,
this is badass.
Look at this. And that's the club.
It's
that's
so
the Club Sport
badass.
steering wheel.
Yeah, that's
Club Sport steering wheel.
Club Sport steering wheel.
So JP,
the car's awesome.
I want to say this car is a $50,000 car, but I just don't know that he's going to get it. And it's not because of the assets. It's just because of the market. John, I'm going to go as high as I can, $44,968. It's running no reserve, and there isn't another one as nice as this in the market. There was a MO30 sports suspension car that sold like last year that brought like almost 60 grand. It was white black with a little bit lower miles, but it had that same limited slip and the MO30 suspension, and it did bring in like the high 50s. But this car has higher mileage. It's red. And it's a weird time of the year. The other thing, Kelly, what JP kind of beat you up on the photos. I'm saying, like, look, when you want to sell these cars, call one of the two of us. I think this car should have come to market after Barrett Jackson at the end of this month. I think that would have helped too. But $44,968. I hope he gets there, and I hope it makes Kelly happy. But if it falters, I hope I'm the winning bidder. So JP, what's your number? And then we'll get to Romi.
Boy, I want to see it break 40. I'd be shocked if it does. I think that this one has the potential to do it. Just unfortunately, 964s and 968s, the transaxle cars they just don't get the love. And I think that, but again, this car is getting a lot of good action, and we know people that are chasing after it. We know our good friend Chris Carbine is trying to get this car, which would be awesome to see him get this car.
Do it, Chris.
Do it. He's bidding on it, but I'm going to say it gets close to 40, but I just don't think it's going to break that. I think 39,968, and I'm going to pass it on to my friend Romi. What do you think?
Oh, I love this car. I think it's great. I love Kelly. So I think it's a very unique car. It's very different, and very interesting. I really do think that. Like I think it's something that's just it's quirky and weird, and I love it. I would pay a lot more. I would pay a lot more money for it just because of that. So like, I have a different take on it than you guys. You know, you guys are the bid nerds, but I'm the guy who's like, I would pay more money for a weird car. Like an interesting car, something that's not like everybody else driving around. You're not going to see this when you're driving around town ever. Like, no one's going to pass by.
You won't notice it.
Hey, I've got one too. You know, they're not going to pull up next to you in the light. And that's the cool part about this car. And the fact that they did all the suspension work, that suspension work is key to this car. And that fact that it's a 6-speed, and it's just awesome. I'm going to say 42,300.
42,000. He's
All
breaking the 40.
Breaking the 40.
Love it. Maybe it'll be Romi buying it. I guess we're doing a road trip.
I would pay
We're
that.
going to Idaho. I can drive it back for you.
Yeah.
If Kelly were put a big biplane wing on the back of it, twin turbocharges, he could sell it to Romi for 150 grand.
It's true. Every car I buy has a giant reverse wing on it and turbochargers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right, guys, what do you think this poorly photographed but beautiful 968 on Bring a Trailer by our good friend Kelly Smith will bring?
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made. I think he's leaving money on the table. Should have called us, but we are rooting for him. I do hope that I'm wrong. I do hope that this car breaks 40. That would be
it will.
Awesome. I think it's good. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I think people are optimistic. I think the market is just getting better right now.
The market for everything is getting better.
Yeah,
so.
we're in the spirit of optimism for the moment. All right, so let's move on. Let's make some more predictions. We are really long, so we got to move it along. What do we got?
All right, JP, who is Christopher Brind'Amour?
One of our oh my God, he's one of our biggest OG nerd herders. What do you mean? Come on.
Hey, Christopher, how you doing? I remember. Yeah, totally. So he selected for us this 1987 Volkswagen.
What do we do?
Golf
My partner hates our fans.
Ridiculous. Number one doctor, Romi. Oh, what's his name?
I didn't know. Ben, hey, what's up?
Hey.
Okay, so 1987 Volkswagen Golf GTI. This is running no reserve on cars and bids. It is a European market Mark II GTI.
Definitely.
And the car has been treated to an engine swap. So the car now sports a 2.8 liter narrow angle VR6 with a 5-speed manual, and it's on a U.S. title. The car is on a clean Texas title, now showing $120,500. 120,500 miles. Wow. JP, isn't it cool? As Volkswagen Porsche guys, that as it's a European VW, it still also has a ZZZ VIN, which I think is always really funny when we see that. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. There's a ton of modifications to the car. Exhaust, 5-speed, 16-inch BBS, coilover suspension, power steering, front and rear strut tower braces. It's also got a body kit. Decals, and aftermarket steering wheel. List goes on and on. Those are not the original seats. Yeah, I don't know. Are those the original seats, JP?
Yeah, I think those are European seats. It says
European
GTI Euro
seats.
Right
there you go.
Right seats.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, some cool stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I do not know my European GTI.
Okay.
That's for sure.
This car's cool, man.
The good thing is here now is you're closer to 200 horsepower than the 100 horsepower the stock motor would have come with. So this car has the to go alongside with the show. So there it is, JP. Interesting car. Looks a little DIY for my taste. And
gotta have a box, bro. Gotta have a Pioneer. Boom. Gotta go boom.
I need my 12-inch.
Got a strut tower brace in the back. That's kind of cool.
It is running no reserve. JP, awesome. Tell us what you see, because you know Volkswagens really well.
Yeah, but this one is a hodgepodge. I mean, they didn't come with VR6s.
No.
So yeah, I mean, the performance upgrades on this car are fantastic. This car is just this is boy racer. This is what started it all for a lot of us. Love this car. It's got to be a ton of fun with that VR6 engine in it. And I love that body kit. Did we say, is that a Zender or is that, did it say?
Didn't say.
I think maybe. Yeah.
So I don't think it is.
This car's just got to be a hoot to drive. Warmy, what do you think?
Oh my God, this car would be awesome to drive. Think of how light it is,
right?
With that engine in it, and there's like no sound deadening. It's just like it'd be crazy. It'd be so much fun to drive that car. And that's like, that's the beginning of all this. Like you said, it's the beginning of the
torque steer.
Yeah, little torque steer, just a bit. Yeah. But the square front and the yellow lights and the perfectly like old school interior. Nobody touched it. I love it. I love this car.
Except for the steering wheel. The steering wheel's aftermarket, but okay.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Most of the time when they do this stuff,
yeah.
they wreck the interior. They try and make it modern. And you're like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. No, it's great. It's great. And you could buy this for a pretty decent price and then put some more tasteful mods on it, and it would be great.
What it's going to be?
All right, JP. A Mark II Volkswagen GTI in the secondary market from this year, according to Classic.com, is a $15,300 car. This car is not stock. It's currently sitting at $6,750. JP, I still don't think this car is going to break 10 grand. I'm going to give you $9,998.
How long does it have to go?
And it's running no reserve, and it closes one day. It closes January 10th, which is so 2 days from now.
2 days. Okay.
2 days from now. Yeah, this car's going to do better than that. I mean, to make one of these is going to cost you a lot. I mean, a VR6 engine. It's got a bunch of miles, and it's Euro and stuff like that. But you're not going to get a car that's this fun and this Radwood and have this kind of performance. Yes. It's going to be tough to find something under $20,000. This will be under $20,000. I'm going to give it $14,000. $10,000. There's no way this thing sells for just $10,000. Somebody wants this car. This car, I mean, just crappy regular stock ones are bringing that kind of money. Right. And this is one of those cars that I think actually does bring extra money because of the mods. If it were a Mark II, it'd be a different story. If it were lower miles, it'd be a different story. But the fact that this car has already got a ton of miles on it really doesn't matter if you go mods. It's not going to really add a ton, but it's definitely not going to hurt it. Romi, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say around that same price too. It's right in my wheelhouse. It's right down my alley. I love these kind of cars.
What was your bid? What was your bid, JP?
$14,000. What's your bid, Romi?
My bid would be, I would say $16,000.
$16,000. Okay, he's going over.
Okay, so here's the thing I'll say in my defense, JP, is that again, nobody's going to spend $2,000 to ship this car to either the East Coast or the West Coast, and it's near Dallas, in the middle of nowhere in Texas. So I think this car has to sell regionally, and I think that's going to cost it. So while the car might be worth 14 or 16, it's not already in California, so I don't think he's going to get it. So
yeah, but this is an easy car to road trip from Texas. There's no snow between here and there. If it's got to go to the Northeast, it's a different story. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we've seen Mark II Volkswagens do incredibly well, but those were stock ones. I mean, we always talk about that Mark II GTI that brought 80 grand, a year and a half ago or something like that. That's kind of like a holy grail. This isn't that car. But, I think it has potential. So we will find out. And I do think better assets would have helped this car. But it's not a super expensive car. I do think this is the right platform, though. Cars and Bids probably it. Let us know what you guys think. The bids are coming in all over the place. No, Deeb, you're definitely the low guy. Everyone's thinking this thing. Oh, wait. No, we've got someone at
try not to have a electrical transfer station behind you.
My original bid was like $11,000 or $12,000, and I took $2,000 off of it because I don't think the car's going anywhere. Even though it's running no reserve. So, JP, which of the two cars do you want to do, the truck or the Cobra?
How much time we got here? Let's do the truck.
Cobra Commander? We're not doing Cobra Commander. Oh.
All right, JP. So
if you guys want to do the Cobra, go and do the Cobra. I've been out.
We're going to juxtapose against the higher mileage 968 for your consideration. Is this 1995 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R, a 1 year only car? Our car is on Bring a Trailer showing 4,200 miles, and it's listed out of Gainesville, Virginia. Now, in 1995, Ford only made 250 Cobra Rs, and they were basically kind of those pre-sold, selected to their best customers of this car. This is number 14 of the 250. And essentially, JP, it's the Ford Lightning motor, so it's SVT, the slightly bigger. It's the 5.8 liter V8 that was shared with the Lightning, but this car has higher compression pistons, more aggressive cam, and a larger throttle body. That all yielded about 300 horsepower and 365 pound-foot of torque. While these cars still had a live rear axle, they got better suspension components and bespoke wheels. You got this whole bespoke front air dam, and they all 250 of them came white with the saddle cloth interior. So cool cars that were, essentially made to sort of road race, but these cars were all sort of built to that quote unquote Fox body build quality. These cars all still, they're like scuttle, would twist and shake and all that. So there is a traction lock, limited slip differential, and a big fancy TR350. I think a Tremec 5-speed
4,200
manual
miles?
transmission. It's got a stonking motor. This car will lay smoke for days, and a big motor. And these cars have always done well in the secondary market. Most of the cars that come to market, JP, are all like 100 and 200 mile examples. A lot of the guys that were privileged enough to buy these cars just basically put them away and speculated on their future value. These cars have never really broken six figures. And they were, back in 95, JP, this was a $37,000 car. Wow. Also very similar or close to what that 968 would have cost. So the big thing I'm going to present you with is Kelly's car, according to classic.com, in the secondary market sell for $31,500. This car in the secondary market typically sells for $51,300. So as we put in our bids, the question is going to be, which of the two cars sells for more money? Right. So JP, tell us what you think about this other Cobra R, and then Romi, we'll get to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I these cars just do nothing for me. To me, this looks like you said it was a $37,000 original. This car looks like a $3,700 car on Facebook. Oh my God. On Facebook Marketplace. It looks like you're gonna reach out to this guy. You're gonna be like, "Is this car in your name? And how long have you had it?" And they're like, "Oh, the car is great. It's in really good condition." Yeah, no. My question was, is it in your name and how long have you had it? Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good. It's great, bro. Come out and check it out,
bro.
And the guy, doesn't have the title. He bought it like 6 days ago from someone who lost the title. I mean, this just looks like
off of Boulder Highway.
The title's still at his mom's house.
I don't even think if that would be great if it were at his mom's house. You could actually get it. This looks like the kind of car.
JP, this does not do anything for you. No nostalgia from your youth.
No, because I'm not. Look, I'm not a millennial. I'm a Gen Xer, man. These cars.
So am I,
this is not by 95. I was definitely not paying attention to Mustangs. What do you think of this car, Romi?
I like it. I like everything about it. See, this is the difference. Like, it's nostalgic for me. I think it's hilarious. And the fact that did it really have 42,000 miles on it?
4,200.
No, 4,200 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's crazy.
This is like brand
SVT, new. Brand new. And I mean, it's just hilarious. Everything's white. The wing's white. Yeah. The lights are white. The underbody's white. Everything's white. I mean, that's the way it was back then. Everything was cocaine white. I love it.
All right, guys, we're going long. What's this thing going to bring?
All right, JP. So classic.com says $51,300. I think this car is going to sell for $38,995. Just under 40 grand, JP. Where you at?
Do you remember what my bid was for the 968?
$39,968.
Same bid for this one. Romi, what do you think?
Oh, there you go.
40K.
40K, right on the nose.
40K, there we go. So it'll be interesting to see which one sells for more. I believe Kelly's car is going to bring more money than the Cobra R, but
I think so too. But it's a Cobra Commander R. Come on.
I actually think the Cobra's going to bring more. I think there's more of an audience for the Cobra. I think people. Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I freaking hate it. But I wouldn't pay $40 for the stupid thing.
So much tire,
dude. I know it'd probably be fun to drive.
Days
I have no doubt about that. But there's way more people. This car on one of the video games of the time.
Probably.
It was like big and anyways.
No idea.
So there's just a huge following for these cars because I think it's one of those
drive
early
and loads of horsepower. Yes.
Yeah, but it's just
and
not me.
Limited traction control. Perfect.
Gotta be fun. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. That's another Bid Nerds. We will see you Sunday night. Romi, thanks for coming to your studio. Deeb, thanks for being here. Anybody else got anything to say? Good. We're out. Bye. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show.